Hello, Visalia. Beautiful program, isn't it? Love that music. Okay, the other day I was on Facebook. You know, that old people's TikTok? And I saw this whole list of men from financing and entertainment, and they were all in their 80s and 90s. And it was people like George Soros, Rupert Murdoch, Robert Redford, Smokey Robinson, Mick Jagger, and Al Pacino. And then it asked this question, is this old? As if the answer was supposed to be no. But of course it's old. If you consider that these bodies have an expiration date of about 100 to 120 years. Well, the reason the answer was supposed to be no is that the way that old is defined in America. Stephen Colbert said that the reason that Kamala Harris looks so much younger than Tim Walz is that women are not allowed to age in America. And of course, this is true for men too, or they wouldn't make that comparison. I see ads all the time about preserving youth, anti-aging, plastic surgery, anything to avoid the inevitability of life. Old. It's the most discouraging word in America. Old. It means doddering, senile, unsexy, unproductive, not powerful, not cool, not hip, definitely not brat. Well, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you that other cultures revere their old people, because this isn't a treatise on cultural anthropology. What I am going to do is I'm going to take you through some of the experiences of my decades on my journey to becoming old, and I'm going to hope that you can relate and stop being hard on yourselves and be age positive. Okay, my 20s. I wanted to get everything all set up for the rest of my life. I had to find my artistic expression, fall in love, start a family, have success as a performer, have financial success, have a farm, have a horse, have lots of friends, and be a mother. And guess what? I did all of it. Yeah, good for me. Then in my 30s, I lost most of it. Okay, I still got to be a mother. But because of my husband's addictions, I left for what was a saner life. Self-doubt marked me. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know who I was without him. But yet I left it all for what seemed like my survival. Was it easy? No, not one bit. I went back to university, I finished my BA in film and television, and then I started working in the industry, and I acted in lots of plays. I did some television, some commercials, and then at the end of that decade, my 30s, my mother got sick, and it seemed like her death was imminent, and I really wanted to help her. The 40s, whew. Man, I think that is the hardest generation, not generation, but decade. It feels like a generation. I think it's the hardest decade for everyone, because this is the time in your life when you're supposed to have it all together. The finances, the career, the relationship, the family, all set for life. I thought I was a miserable failure. I just didn't have it together. I didn't know what to do, and I felt like giving up. I think that everybody feels like this at some point in their life. And then the man that I had been in love with since my 20s passed away, and that left out any hope of reconciliation. Oh, this is the point where I can't remember. And the reason I can't remember is because so much happened between the time that I turned 40 and the time that I turned 50 that I was operating in overwhelm most of the time. I was juggling caregiving, parenting, work. I found out that being in the entertainment business was not compatible with all of this stuff. So I got my real estate license and I started substitute teaching. Yeah, I had regrets. I was giving up my life as a performer and I became a secondary nurse and caregiver. And I did this by making tiny little incremental binary decisions. Would this cause more regret than that? Would this be easier than that? Would I like this choice better in the long run than that choice? I chose simplicity to keep my sanity. And then I looked for jobs that wouldn't miss me when I was gone, like real estate, substitute teaching, all these jobs that are designed to have someone fill in for you if you're not there. I'm just going to run through a few things that happened in this decade. I worked with kids on probation and parole. They were like on contract and there were 100 kids in my classroom, but they didn't all come at the same time. A lot of reason is because they were in rival gangs. But then during the LA riots, I had 100 students in my room. I was really honored because that was their sanctuary. I went back to school and I got my MA in teaching English as a second language. And then I worked with immigrants and over time I worked with people from 64 countries. Working with immigrants is really healing because even though I was learning a lot of patience and a lot of compassion from what I was doing with the caregiving and the juggling and everything else, their struggles put my life in perspective, and I didn't think that my trials were so big anymore. I started to appreciate my life, and I was able to let go of some regret. Oh yeah, my grandma got sick, and we took care of her, and then my mom's husband passed away, and then I moved in with her as a full-time caregiver. 50 came, oh my God. Couple of years passed, Mom passed away. Oh, crap, what was I gonna do now? I had no savings, I had no retirement. I walked down the street and nobody turned their head. Dang! I didn't know what happened. So I had to look inside my mind for purpose and for identity, and I had to do this without the opinions of anyone else. So I moved to the desert, and I started teaching at the local college, ESL. I got 15 hours per week. That was about as far as it was going. But eventually I found peace in the desert, and I found purpose in teaching. Well, I went back to school again to get my K-12 credential, because I needed to build up that retirement. Okay, I went to the local high school to apply for a job, and the principal actually said to me, "Why should I hire you when I could hire any young thing?" Really? Experience? Okay, I stood up for myself. I got the job. And you might wonder, like, well, why didn't you report him? Well, to put this in perspective, this was before 9/11, and a lot of you weren't even born yet. That's the way things were. I left that school, and I got another job, and I loved teaching. And I found out that teaching was a lot like performing, only I had an interactive audience. Yeah. All right. So here it comes, the big 6-0. give it up, retire, it's over, you're done. Might as well just hang up your hat. Not me. Nope. I taught, I hiked, I traveled. I went to Mexico, Fiji, Africa, Canada, Ireland, I don't know, a few other places. I camped all around the United States. I made friends. Man, that was so jam-packed with adventure and fun that I don't even know what else happened. Hell yeah, I was in it. Okay, here come my 70s. Wow. I became a life coach. I kept on teaching, and I thought I was middle-aged. And a friend of mine said, "What, are you gonna live to be 140? Why not, huh? All right, maybe that's not really realistic, but my dad called me, and I had been helping him with his mining business. But when he called me, he said he had 3 months to live. So I invited him into my home, and I provided hospice, and it was a sweet goodbye, like it had been with my mother and my grandmother. And then I took over the company. I became the manager of the LLC. I eventually sold the mining properties, and then I became a consultant to the company that bought it, because I had all the local contacts. I knew all the rules and regulations. And I did that for 7 years. Was I old? Hell yeah, but I didn't notice. Okay, so if any of you are in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, or your 60s, and you think your life is messed up, just think of this. I just turned 80. Yes, this is me, version 8.0. Hell yeah. So, what I want you guys to do is claim your age with pride. If you're old, you earned it. Hell yeah.